Hey guys, how are you? I have been looking forward to doing this video all week long. And what this video is about, if I were to sit you all down and say to you, okay, not 3, not 4, it could be 4 on one side, 7 on the other side. If I were to sit you down and say, just give me the Jets that you really want to see take it to another level this year. They could be rookies. You know, what is which Jets are the most important to the team this year? Which Jets need to shine this year for this team to have a special season? Okay. Now, a special season to some may be, well, instead of 4-13, we go 6-11. To others, it might be instead of going 7-10, we go 9-8. And some others may be optimistic enough to say, well, you know, we make it to the playoffs. While I'm not in the playoff group, I'm not far away. And there's several reasons for that. The first reason is the gigantic question mark is, how is Zach Wilson going to perform during the season? You know, he has let out so many vibes to show the world that he is going to be one of those rookies that is not overwhelmed with this whole thing. And if Zach Wilson, with his weapons, comes out and is not overwhelmed with this whole thing and performs well his rookie year, even with a couple hiccups, and with the receivers that he has and the possible running game behind this offensive line, this team could surprise. It could. I'm open to that. I'm open to that. Am I predicting they're going to go to the playoffs? No. But looking at the schedule even, it's the first time in 3 or 4 years that the schedule, I don't look at it and go, how the hell do we even get to the middle of October? I don't do that when I look at this schedule. It doesn't throw me that much. So anyway, if I were to sit you down, you'd come up with players, right? So I sat myself down and I asked myself, what players? And what I've come up with, and coaches. And what I've come up with is 7 players on offense, 4 players on defense, 1 coach, and it's not who you think it is, and 2 special teamers? What the hell's that all about? Anyway, we're going to go through them one by one. So hang on, baby. Okay, our first guy. And understand, I know there's going to be some here that are no-brainers. So let's get a no-brainer out of the way. His name is Zach Wilson. Not sure if you guys are familiar. I know he's a no-brainer, but the bottom line is that, listen, when it comes to a rookie, all the right things were said, all the right things were done. Yeah, there was a major flare-up with the green and white game where the media lost their mind temporarily for a little while. But what you can't take away from Zach and the 2 preseason games that we saw him while he was in there is that the most important thing for me, and I know it's a broken record when I keep repeating it, is his command of the field, his ability to go to option 1, 2, 3, his scope of the entire field. And we take that for granted, and it's something that the great ones are able to process and do faster than the other guy, period. What's the average? 4.3, 4.5 seconds a quarterback has to make that decision and release it. And his ability, when you watch his eyes, when those touchdown pass, that touchdown pass to Kroft at the end zone, you know, looking right, going left. That delivery to Davis down the right sideline I've played like 11 times for myself. Because you know what it did? It just picked me up and it brought me to BYU. That's exactly what I saw him do at BYU. It wasn't the circus ones that everybody likes to talk about. It was just a pass that a lot of quarterbacks can't make. They just can't do it. So the question is this. He's a rookie. Okay? He's going to go against the Bill Belichick defense in week 2. Sam saw ghosts, right? early in his career. There's going to be certain things that we're going to see from him that at times that are going to need growth. We know that. But the question is are there going to be enough shining moments from him where this, let's say, 5-12, 6-11 team, let's say, has enough moments from him that he's able to take the weapons that he's been given, which is more than any Jet quarterback in a long time, and really use them. And I really do believe that this kid is going to have a lot more ups than downs this year. I really do believe that. I think he's a special kid. And that's why this is not in ranking, but he's the first guy we're going to go through. Zach Wilson, extremely important this year. Okay, guys, the next guy is going to be Michael Carter, running back. And why, with all the running backs, do we pick Michael Carter? It's pretty simple. I know what I'm going to get out of Ty Johnson. I pretty much know what I'm going to get out of Michael P. Ryan. I've watched Tevin Coleman enough, and when we acquired him, looked at his videos, looked at his highlights. I mean, he's a slasher. He's going to surprise us. He's a good running back. He really is. If he stays healthy, he's big. But Michael Carter is a big question mark. And Michael Carter put up numbers in college that were sick. And Michael Carter has a double threat. He's a double threat. He will slash and cut, and he will run your ass right over. You see that picture? He will run your butt over. That's why I put that picture up. And I am really excited. And of course, a double threat that, yeah, we know he can run, and he's a very good receiver. So the question is, how much action does he see? My guess is anywhere between 13 and 17 carries. Will he have more than 17 carries some games? Maybe, probably. Will he have less than 13? Probably not. But you never know. I mean, if there's a game where Tevin Coleman's really rolling, or they're just really going heavy three running backs, I guess that could be the case. Will there be a point this season where he steps up and takes it over? If that happens, then he's on this list for the right reason. If that happens, he's on this list for the right reason. Because he could be a major difference maker. And that's why we're going to go with Michael Carter as our second guy. Okay, guys, number 4 is going to be Denzel Mims. Denzel Mims. We're hard on Denzel Mims, aren't we? I think we're so hard on Denzel Mims because it goes back to last year, the frustration we had last year. We really believed that that's what kept Sam back those first couple games of this season. We just, every day we tune in to see an update from Gase. Mims, is he close? Will he play? You know, we kept looking for it. And then the delay, he re-injured the hamstring. And, you know, we're just so frustrated with him, you know. And then all of a sudden he gets on the field and there's not much. And then Sam finds him several times. And what do we see? We see a receiver who's huge, who's fast, but we never get to see the speed. We never saw the speed yet. There hasn't been one play where we saw the speed yet. And we know it's there. We saw the times. They're sick. So we haven't seen the speed yet. But we see a guy. What is it about the great ones? They catch the ball. They catch the ball with 2 hands away from their body, right? They protect themselves from they block. They have a way with their back to block out the defender. They're so strong. They can go up and get it. He's shown so many signs that he could be a great receiver. But I think we need to really step back and relax and remember where this guy came from and what happened to him last year. Okay? COVID, No preseason. The preseason we did have, he had his hamstring injury. Then he finally starts to get rolling, hamstring. And all this is going on while the whole Sam Darnold, Adam Gase fiasco is going down the crapper. I mean, truly going down the crapper. This is a team that looks like they're not going to even win a game. And they bring this kid along who is not a shiny, polished caddy. You know, he was a guy that needed work. He was not a guy where route running and all that other stuff was you know, a necessity. He was just a you know, go get it guy. So there was a rawness to him. And we handed him in a COVID year with no preseason to Adam Gase. And now coming into season 2, we're already frustrated with him, right? Some of us are frustrated with him. And then what happens? He gets food poisoning. He loses 20 pounds. 20 pounds. This is a guy, when you look at him, if you really look at him, you can't find more than, you know, a pound of body fat on him. He loses 20 pounds. His comeback is slow, and we don't know why. The food poisoning wasn't even divulged to us until like midway through him being out. And it definitely was never told how drastic it was. We weren't told about the 20 pounds until he was back on the field. And then he gets back on the field, finally. And now we're expecting him to just jump in and say, okay, we picked you. You fell to us last year. You know, we were all ecstatic about it. Let's go. Let's see what we got. And what we have to realize is that he's just basically, you know, still raw. Still raw. And I read the articles in the preseason. Denzel a threat to lose his job? Yeah, there's a possibility he may not, you know, get as many plays early on as we'd like. And he's not going to probably give us the gigantic numbers out of the box, but maybe he will. Maybe he will. And the reason why he might is because he's so talented. He's everything you want in a receiver. Look how long I'm going on him, right? This is double the time I've given anybody else. I think this guy has a chance to be exceptional. Exceptional. You don't get that kind of body, that kind of height, that kind of strength. I mean, he is Corey Davis with even more speed. And it will come out. And if it comes out this year, he deserves to be on this list. So let's go to our next guy. Okay, the next guy on the list is Corey Davis. What can you expect out of Corey Davis, Jay? Are you kidding me? Corey Davis was picked 5th, 6th overall. Corey Davis' career so far has been really solid. Really solid. But when you get guys picked that high and the expectations are so high, what was it, Western Michigan? I think he was out of Western Michigan. And yeah, a couple people rolled their eyes when the pick was made. But people that saw him play loved him and thought he belonged where he was picked. And when a guy is picked like that, and the numbers don't reflect that, it's not like he's a bust. He was never considered a bust. I mean, look, Jets paid a handsome amount of money for him, right? But he's never hit that level. So when that usually happens with a player, you look at the stats, you watch him play, and you say, yeah, he's not. You know, we thought he was this. We thought he had that. We didn't expect this. When you watch Corey Davis play with the Titans and what I've watched so far with the preseason with the Jets, I don't see anything like that. There's nothing that I say, wow, well, I can understand why, you know, you're not getting those huge elite numbers. He was named as the captain of the New York Jets. He was on this list before that. And the reason he was named as the captain is he's not one of these guys that just runs around shouting and screaming. And they even said that today when they announced it. He is not a shouter. He's not a screamer. It's his preparation, his drive, and how hard he works. And Corey Davis, because of Zach Wilson, will become an elite number one receiver in this league. And that's what he needs to become. That's why he's on this list. That would make him a difference maker on the Jets. And I really do believe that this guy can do that. Now, because Zach is a rookie, and we're going to go through certain things that happen next year, and you start to see it this year where his numbers go up, I don't know. I don't know. But I do know this. He's a hell of a lot better than those numbers. And those numbers aren't bad. Look at the contract he signed with the Jets. Those numbers aren't bad. He's better. He's better than that. And that's what Joe Douglas saw. So I look forward to seeing him do that this year. And you can already tell that Zach Wilson is a gigantic Corey Davis fan. And that's why he's on this list. Now, the next position we're going to go is offensive line. Okay? And we're going to pick two guys on the offensive line. The first guy I'm going to pick is a no-brainer, yes. But I'm also going to add something to it. And I know there's a few people because when I search around the internet, I hear guys say, get off his back. Are you kidding? That's the kind of guy he is. That's what he looks, that's what it is. It is what it is. Just, don't, oh man, I don't know, I'm getting allergies? No, it can't be this time of year. That's just the kind of guy he is. All right. I say bullshit. And also, I do want him to become the best left tackle in the NFL this year, Makai Beckton. I mean, we saw him struggle in the preseason, and it looks like, and that's why this argument that I'm making, the second argument I'm making, even stands out even more. And that's why, I just convinced myself totally. There's no doubt in my mind. You know what? I'm getting ahead of myself. The bottom line is, I want to see Makai Beckton step it up. Is he going to have a problem with the real speed rushers? Apparently, it looks like it's a possibility. But that's something he may have to wait and try to work through this year. Okay? But the more important thing about him is what he needs to do through this year going into next year. And that is, and I know there's going to be people that don't like this. You don't have to look like he does in that picture. The guy's a mauler. But you don't have to be 375, 380. You don't have to be. Him at 350 is fine. And will help him with the one part of the game that he may be struggling. And plus, just for his health, just for his knees, his feet, his legs, his hips, everything. You start carrying around 30 extra pounds, Take two 15-pound weights and just walk around for a couple days and then come see me. It's huge. And again, if the guy was like, 335 and you're asking him to go down to like 305, then you become a different football player. I understand that. Then you become a different football player. 315 to 290, you're a different football player. What Mosley has done, CJ Mosley has done, he's a different football player now. What I'm talking about Beckton doing, he's not a different football player. He's not going to show up in the camp and be like, I hope he can still manhandle guys. 350. He's huge. He's a big dude. Big guy. For longevity in his career. I promise you this, Joe Douglas and Saleh, either during the season or once the season over, I promise you this, Makai Beckton will come into camp next year around the weight I'm talking about. I promise that is going to be the most important thing in this offseason. I am really shocked. Maybe it was just because there was so much on their table. There was so much going on with bringing Joe and Saleh in. I'm really surprised Joe didn't address that in February. I really, really am. Because I know you see Joe. Joe's a big dude, but Joe takes care of himself now. He's a big, big dude. Look at Saleh. You don't have to explain to me, what kind of shape Saleh's in. They're going to grab this kid, and they're going to say, "Listen, here's the deal. We're taking this over. You've got to do this just for your own health, just for your longevity of your life. Forget about football even. Please don't sit there and tell me he's 365, 370. He's 375, 380, and maybe a hair more. And that, to me, is probably a major reason why he's having the problems with speed rush. And if it's not, who gives a crap? He'll be a much better football player at 350, 355. So that's why Makai Beckton's on this list. So everybody's on the list for a different reason. So that's what I'd like to see out of him. And I guarantee you, they're going to do it. The next guy on the list, and this is going to be a quickie because there's no miracles here, is Connor McGovern. It's very simple last year. Connor McGovern's season was a tale of two. Okay, we had the first part of the season, maybe the first 9 games, 10 games, where he struggled mightily, especially like the first 6. And then the last 13, 14, 15, 16, where I thought he played really, really well. And you can chalk that up to a bunch of different things. Who knows? But all I know is this, is that what we've acquired through the draft on the left side, what we acquired through free agency all the way on the right side, and then we have Van Roten at right guard as of now, is that even with that, this offensive line, if we get that Connor McGovern that we had at the end of last season, this offensive line has a chance to be really solid. And the difference that a really solid offensive line would mean to, of course, protection. Of course, that's the first thing that comes to mind, protection. But the running game, now that we have some studs back there that can break things open and that could dominate certain teams, we could dominate just on the ground alone, would make Zach Wilson's life incredibly easy. So again, this doesn't have to be a long one at all. It's very, very simple. Which Connor McGovern are we getting? And if we get the Connor McGovern we saw towards the end of the year, again, major plus for the Jets this season. Now, the next guy on the list is going to be a surprise. You got to bear with me here a second. The next guy on the list, and the last guy on the list for the offense, is Tyler Kroft. I know you're sitting there saying, wait, whoa. What, instead of 15 receptions, you want 28 out of him? What, those 2 touchdowns in preseason, Jay, got you really excited? What is it? Well, yeah, kind of. A little bit. But also, Tyler Kroft has fallen into a situation that as long as the Jets do not pick up another tight end, he's kind of stepped in crap here a little bit. Now, can Daniel Griffin or Yeboah or practice squad guys, can any of them step up as the season goes on? If Kroft, yes, they can. Has Kroft had a little bit of the dropsies in his career at times? Yeah, a little bit. But Tyler Kroft also had a season with the Bengals in which, he had 42 catches for 404 yards and 7 touchdowns. Then he goes to the Bills, and the Bills were in good shape at tight end. And he sort of gets buried. And statistically, if I'm not mistaken, I mean, last year, 12 catches, 119 yards, 3 touchdowns. It's just not there. But he did have the one season with the Bengals. And forget it. Let's forget about that. We're going to get lost in the nonsense stuff. The important thing is that he's in a situation where, because the gods smiled on him, and the Jets just decided to not address the issue at tight end and to sort of not get rid of, his competition, that he's got the opportunity in an offense that likes to go to the tight end. And yeah, in the preseason, Zach Wilson did look for him. And it may just be because the offense is the offense, and Zach Wilson, his ability to just look at his second, third options, where Tyler Kroft could really, really surprise and have a good year. Now, am I talking about 75 catches for 600? No, I'm not talking about that. But I'm talking about a year like he had with the Bengals, where he has 40, 45 catches, 5 to 7 touchdowns. And out of the tight end position, considering what you think you're going to get out of him and what else is on the roster, cartwheels. I think the Jets would do cartwheels if they get that out of the position. And I do believe that he has a chance. Now, there is the possibility that somebody else on the roster can step up and compete with him, or on the practice squad at some point if he just, through several games doesn't perform. But right now, he hit the lottery right now. The question is, what does he do with it? We're going to find out. Tyler Kroft makes the list. Okay, we're going to start with the defense, and we're going to open up with the defensive line. And no, we're not going to go with Quinnen Williams. I know what I want. I know what I expect. I love Quinnen Williams, and if he gives us even a little bit more, fantastic. And there are so many guys on this defensive line that are just good, solid players. Several are good role players. Foley Fatukasi, named captain. How great is that? But he's not the guy on the list. The guy on the list is the last guy that we acquired, and that's Shaq Lawson. And no, we're not asking one Lawson to be another Lawson. That's not going to happen. But there are several similarities in the way they approach the game that you can't ignore. And what you really can't ignore is that this guy has been, just like our other Mr. Lawson, this guy is a guy that gets a lot of pressure on the quarterback and hasn't had the numbers to show for it, albeit, let's say, 20-25% lower. So, but still, 25 pressures, 23 pressures, 4 sacks, 6.5 sacks. So he's had seasons. But what he was asked to do the last season, and I believe the season before, is that anytime you take a defensive end, and that's in a 4-3 defense, and switch over to a 3-4, and why they brought him, the Dolphins, I have no idea why they did that. But it's asking a lot. And he said it in his press conference. He did not like it. And the fact that he can return back to a 4-3D and just snap and go, he is really excited about this season. So, the reason that he's so important is that what if he has a season where he's able to get 7-8 sacks? Yeah, we're gonna miss the other Lawson forever. It's huge. I get that. But if this guy can come in and be a really good quality defensive end and sort of lighten the burden on the secondary, because that was the big reason. That was the big reason the signing was so important. is that we had a young secondary, and you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the Giants, how they've beaten the Patriots, especially in the Super Bowl in the past. You know, when you get those four guys, and those guys are just gunners, and you don't have to send a linebacker, you don't have to send a safety, you can keep 7 back every single pass play. The game becomes a lot different for the secondary. It really is a major, gigantic Band-Aid. And that's what we thought was going to happen with this team. That's what they were really counting on. Between him and Quentin Williams, you know, they're going to be really, really in good condition. They weren't super concerned about the secondary. So when he went down, it was huge for the defensive line, but it was almost as big for the secondary. So Shaq Lawson steps in. And again, if he can have a breakout season, he's at that point in his career right now. He is right there. He's gone into his 6th year. Okay? He was a high draft pick. And he's shown signs and is super excited to finally get back to a 4-3 defense. It would make this season a lot more interesting. A lot more interesting. And he becomes a really important player on this team this year. Who would have thought? I never would have believed it. I never would have believed it. So, Shaq Lawson, easily on the list. Easily. For the defensive line and the secondary. He's our number 1 defensive guy in the league. Our next guy on the list is a no-brainer. We're going to go right into linebacker. And that's C.J. Mosley. And it's for so many reasons that are so obvious, but I'm going to start out with the most important reason. Okay? Not because he lost all the weight, not because he's going to be faster, quicker. He has got to stay healthy. And because of the quarterback situation, Zach Wilson are the 2 guys that cannot go down. If either one of those 2 guys go down, it's just a different team. And it's not because C.J. Mosley. I mean, we're talking about a guy who hasn't played football in 2 years. But that's not even the reason. The reason is of what's to his left and what's to his right. That's the reason. The youth that he has to his left, the youth that's going to be on his right at times, is huge. And if you watch that final preseason game against the Eagles, when he didn't play, but Nazir and Sherwood did, those 2 guys looked lost. There were, before the snap, getting into position, they were running back and forth, you know, not even set when the ball was snapped. These are 2 really high potential guys. I do believe they are. But you need that veteran presence in between them. And if C.J. Mosley goes down, you know, the kids will still continue to grow. They're going to still continue to get better. But having C.J. Mosley in between them would expedite the growth enormously. It'd be huge. It'd be huge. So I'm not going to even get into C.J. Mosley numbers. I'm not going to even get into his, you know, all the weight loss, which I hope fares out well, because a guy that's been in the league that long loses that much weight. You look at the pictures of him when he was with the Jets before he got injured, and now, and you look at his face, you can't even recognize the guy. He lost down 231. That's a lot of weight. So I'm extremely happy about that. The coaches are happy about that. Yes, he gets him the speed that he needs at linebacker. But they take a beating, man. They take a beating. And you hope his body. C.J. Mosley needs to stay healthy. He does. just the guys next to him. It's more important to them that he stay healthy than anybody else. So for the reason I said, everybody would have a different reason why they're on the list. For CJ Mosley, it's just about trying to play as many games this year as you possibly can. End of story. The next guy on the list, we're going to shift to cornerback. And that cornerback will be Bless. Oh, no, I'm kidding. Is that too fresh, that wound still? Maybe I shouldn't even go there with the Bless Austin jokes yet. Listen, I know a lot of us were upset about it. I wasn't. I really wasn't. I know the big argument was it's such a young secondary, and here's a guy that had the experience. He had 1 year under his belt. Let's take a breath here. I didn't lose any sleep over it whatsoever. I would have lost sleep over it if I really believed in my heart that I really liked him as a player, and I wasn't there. I liked he had a decent tackling ability as a cornerback, but he didn't blow me away. Did I believe the Jets could still work with him? Apparently they did. They went with him this long. I mean, that was a late cut. That was a late decision. It's not like they cut one of the kids they picked or an undrafted free agent and done. They cut him, and he's the one they gave the longest look at. And I think they gave him the longest look out of respect, the fact that, him, along with Bryce Hall, had the experience. And the bottom line is they decided to give it a shot with the other guys. So who stayed? Bryce Hall. And we did the Jet dance last year when he fell and we were able to pick him. A lot of guys were excited about it, rightfully so. He had the injuries and it seemed like he had a nice, healthy season. And he played as a rookie, late pick, surprisingly well. Did he have his moments where, he had his rookie moments, but were there a lot of times when you're watching the game, like we watched it so many times with Jackson, where you said to yourself, this guy, why do they keep putting him out there? This is horrible to watch. I didn't get that with Bryce Hall at all. But there's a ton of pressure on this guy this year. Bryce Hall's going to be going up against some elite receivers. He's going to go up. This is going to be an incredible learning year for him. But the reason he's on the list is I want you to think about something. Think about this. Close your eyes. The Jets have Lamarcus Joyner at safety, along with Marcus May, along with Bryce Hall on one side. Can you imagine if Bryce Hall does step it up and hits another level this year? To go along with a Lamarcus Joyner, Lamarcus Joyner and Marcus May. Now all of a sudden you're saying to yourself, okay, the other secondary spot. It's all of a sudden like the microscopes, to one position. And that would be a huge upgrade to this team. Instead of this amazing amount of fear that the Jet fans have of going into the season right now and in the condition that we think the secondary is in. And we think that they're in that position. We think that we're in that position because we're not sure what we're going to get from one side or the other side. But if Bryce Hall, who's stuck and starts, takes it to the next level with great teaching, I mean, he couldn't be in a better position. He could not be in a better position. If he thinks he got teaching last year, he is hitting a whole new level of teaching this year. But if he's able to take it to the next level, he could end up being one of the most important guys on the defense, because now all of a sudden you're staring at one spot with 4 or 5 rookies and one undrafted free agent chasing it. And now all of a sudden you need one position for 4 or 5 guys to step up and play average. Average. And now the defense takes on a whole different look. Now you get why Shaq Lawson's so important, right? So that's why he's on the list, and that's why I spent almost 5 minutes on him. He's big. But believe it or not, just as big is our final guy on defense. He's next. The last guy on the list for the defense is safety, little effect, Lamarcus Joyner. Yeah, not Marcus May. Marcus May is Marcus May. Lamarcus Joyner is on the list because he spent the first 5 years with the Rams playing safety. And you want to know something? He was a pretty darn good safety. And then the Raiders, because the Raiders know how to do things and are just so much smarter than everybody else, decided to switch Lamarcus Joyner to a nickelback. Now, you know what? I'm not sure about that. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt that maybe he came over and they just didn't like the way he played safety in the beginning, or he struggled at safety, or when he came over, they picked up or drafted another safety and he became like a third wheel, but they liked his talent and they stuck him at nickel. The bottom line is it didn't work. His PFF grade went, from 100 to 0. He struggled big time and didn't play well with the Raiders. And his goal was the whole time is to get back and play safety. So when the Jets went out and got him, they said, first question he said, he goes, we're safety. We're going to put you back at safety. They knew exactly where they wanted him. The Jets were way ahead of the curve on that and put him back at safety. In his 5 years with the Rams, his best year was 2017, where I know he had three interceptions, 1 touchdown return, but he was just a solid player. Good against the run, but really, really good back in helping in coverage. So the reason he is so important to the team is that, again, Marcus May is a rock. Marcus May he's as steady as it gets. And even with all the contract crap and everything else going on, you're going to get a good season out of Marcus May because, again, Marcus May, coming up on 30 now, is playing for a contract. But I don't even think that makes a difference to Marcus May. He just plays, he's just a solid player. So, again, with the problems, with potential problems, with the youth in the secondary, it becomes really important that both safeties have at least a solid season. And if one of them struggles, and I highly doubt it's going to be May, but if one of them struggles, it just becomes a different ballgame in the secondary. Because now you're asking Bryce Hall to do what I just wanted Bryce Hall to do. You're asking the other guy to be special too. And you're just, having a safety that's struggling, and maybe you're throwing guys in and out at that position, which we can because we did draft a lot of safeties that converted over to linebacker, corner, whatever it may be. And then, of course, you always have Ashton Davis sitting there too. But Ashton Davis last year definitely did not show us enough to say, put him right in as starter. Big year for Ashton Davis, by the way. But Joyner has to go back to his Ram days and at least be solid. And if he's solid, and Marcus May is solid, and Bryce Hall comes in and and improves in his second season, then the secondary is you lose the fear factor. Could there still be issues? Are there going to still be games? And it's like, oh God, yeah, we're going to probably still have games like that, but it's not as drastic as it seemed today. And that's why he's an important factor on the defense. So Lamarcus Joyner, our final defensive player. Okay, we got 3 left. And I'm going to bore you a little bit, I think, here a little bit. I hope I don't. The next guy on the list is one of our 2 special teamers. And his name is Braxton Berrios. Now, right off the bat, with all the kids and all the draft picks, and you always hear, oh, he was a good punt returner. There may be some guys slipping in and out, but I think as the season progresses, it'll probably fall on, if it's probably not going to, it's probably going to fall on him right from the start. But maybe if it doesn't, on Braxton Berrios' shoulders. And if it doesn't fall on his shoulders, I'd be really ticked off. That would bother me. Because as a punt returner, he has that it factor. And this isn't like one of those Metcalf stories. This isn't one of those, I'm picking Braxton Berrios because I think he's going to return 4 or 5 during the year for a touchdown. This is all about field position and all about complete comfort when he's back there fielding punts. Watch him fumble the first week. He is extremely sure-handed. But forget about all that. When I'd watch the Patriots, and whether it was Edelman, well, it was mostly Edelman for a long time, he had to be one of the most annoying punt returners ever, right? He just had that ability to catch and be like 5 yards up the field in a second. The only way that he wasn't going to give you your 10, 15 yards was if you had him immediately. Because one little side and bam, he was up the field. And Berrios has shown that. Berrios is the kind of guy that could he probably won't lead the league in punt returns average, because he's probably not going to be that guy that's going to return him all the way. But if you were to take that number out of the equation, he could be right up there in the top 5. He has shown that ability, that Edelman ability, that when he receives punts, to just have that burst, that initial burst. You either have that or you don't. You see so many guys back there that are just speed demons, and they just deer headlights for that first split second. And that first split second, it's too late. It's too late. And Berrios has that Edelman type of thing, where he gets the ball and in a matter of a second, he's got your 5 yards. He's able to get from 0 to 60 in like under a second. It's so fast. And this is a minor thing. This is one to appease me, and I appreciate you doing that. And we're going to wrap this up now. But the bottom line is, I hope he's the punt returner. And while it may not be looked at as a big deal, a guy's back to punt and he gets the ball, let's say on their own 38, catches the ball like around 38, and the next thing you know, you're at midfield. He's that kind of guy. And I really do believe if they have some good special team coaching, that this guy could be a difference maker as far as field position. So Braxton Berrios makes the list as a punt returner. I told you it was going to be a little crazy. The final player is also special teams, and I was feeling a little more comfortable about him after watching the last last couple preseason games. And then I was even going to I joked about taking down the video where I go after Joe Douglas a little bit with how he's sort of like ignored the kicking position for 2 years now. And then I said, and I had to admit, so far from what I've seen from Amendola, I'm impressed. I'm really impressed. And now I've gone back to where I'm a little concerned, because doing this video, you want to check backgrounds of guys. And I went back and looked at his road to being with the Jets. And I don't understand. There's so many kickers in college. I don't understand how every team doesn't have 60, and there's so many players that have been kickers for so long, and that they're searching for a kicker is probably 35% of the teams, where let's say 40%. Let's say it's 50%, because 50% of the teams, they have their kicker. God, they're kicking for 5, 7, 8 years. With free agency a little bit different now. But I don't understand how it's not easy to just pluck a kicker off a tree from college that was just outstanding. I mean, every single year they build up. There's only 31 NFL teams, right? So every year that pool, kicking pool builds up, and there should be like, you should be able to get like an A minus easily. And because when you look at Amendola's career, he was a walk on at Oklahoma State, right? And the first thing they did is they gave him kickoff duties. And then he was given given this a shot at kicking, and he made a 53-yarder his first year. He was redshirted his first season, actually. His first year playing, he had 2 extra points when they finally put him in a game. He missed one, but he made a 53-yarder that game. He then became their kicker, and eventually they took him off kickoff duties. So I think he had like his first year where they allowed him to do kickoffs. I think it was 43 touchbacks, but that's such a misleading thing in college, the yardage and everything. But anyway, his statistics is he never hit the 80% mark. He never hit the 80. The highest he ever got was 78%, and he was close to it several years, but he never hit the 80% mark. And then he graduates and goes undrafted, and there's not much interest. So he spent last year just strengthening his leg and working on his accuracy. He wanted to kick in the NFL. And in the offseason, the Panthers showed some interest and brought him aboard. And when the Jets were no longer comfortable with Fickens, they brought in Nager and eventually Amendola. And cut Nager and kept Amendola, right? So when they went to Amendola, and I watched several of his kicks, his kicks, accuracy-wise, yeah, there were several field goals were just inside the left upright. But his kicks were true, and the final kick he had was dead on center. I think it was the 45-yarder. It hit like halfway up the netting. It was a really impressive kick, but every single one of his field goal kicks were like true. You know what I mean by true? Like there was no twist turns. It was like a quarterback throwing a perfect spiral. They were dead on straight lines, And he looks like he has a really good foot. But there's you hear the thing, and then I'm reading one of these articles, and the Jets are sort of looking at it as that they have their guy that's going to really work with him, and they think because this is this guy's thinking off the record that the Jets are not necessarily going to be a Super Bowl team the first year or two, that they can work with this kid and see what they've got because they really think that he has the potential. Now, the one thing to remember in college that even though, let's say when he had that 78% year, even in the season before that, he was very streaky. So we're going to keep an eye on that. He went through, I think he hit his first 12 out of his first 13 field goals, and then he hit his final 12 straight field goals, but in between missed 5 out of 6. And that happened kind of like that 2 years in a row. So he's been showing a sign to be streaky. But the one thing about these kickers is, if you get somebody to work with them and they have that potential, is that all of a sudden they can just, you think about the kind of position it is and what you're asking these guys to do, And if you make the minor little adjustments, and if you have the ability, to, kick a field goal 53, 55 yards, and let's say you just have a problem with accuracy, you can really work on stuff like that. There's minor little adjustments you can make, and then all of a sudden they lock into whatever works, and they become really great field goal kickers. So that's what we're looking at this year. So a couple things to keep an eye on. One is streakiness. If he's streaky, will the Jets be patient enough? Let's say if he goes in the middle of the season and misses 3 or 4, important field goals. I'm guessing that they know his past and they know that's a possibility. The last thing I'm going to bring up about him, and boy, oh boy, I spent way too much time on him, is when I watched his kickoffs in preseason. I'm hoping they did this intentionally, and I mentioned this in the video after the Giant game, and after the second preseason game against Green Bay, and the third game against the Eagles, I noticed during the kickoffs that they were like 3 steps. And the only thing the logical thing, of course, is that they wanted to work on their coverage, right? So never really saw him. And one of those 3 steps, he did kick the ball out of the end zone. So we're gonna the other things we're gonna keep an eye on, But first thing I think you're gonna look for right away, right off the bat, in the first game of the season, before he even kicks a field goal, is his kickoffs, is his leg strength, because that's something he really worked on. It was a little questionable in college for a little while, and then it got better and better as he went on, but we'll see what happens. So, yes, kicker, still not sure. I hope the kid makes it. It would make life a lot easier for Joe Douglas and the Jets. And last but not least is a coach. And it's not Robert Saleh. So it's got to be the young kid, LaFleur. So young. Not LaFleur. And it's not the special teams coach. Can you imagine everyone special teams? That would have been great, right? The punter, the kicker, and the special teams coach. Can you imagine? I'm getting giddy, man. I've been doing this. I've done these all in a row, man, so I'm losing my mind at this point. So anyway, it's Jeff Ulbrich, damn it. And Jeff's job as preseason has gone along has become difficult and more difficult and more difficult for all the wrong reasons. I mean, you look at this guy, you listen to the interviews of him early on in preseason, and this guy was like a kid in the candy store, He had Lawson and Quentin Williams and his linebackers, and he had kids in the back, but come on, he can cover that up with everything he had up front, and it hasn't worked out like that. And this job that he took that had so many pluses has become a mini nightmare. His career started with the Seattle Seahawks, where he was the assistant coach and special teams coach. He then became the linebacker coach. That was for 2 years. He then became the linebacker coach for the Atlanta Falcons for 5-6 seasons. He then became the interim at first defensive coordinator, then the defense coordinator for the Falcons in his final 2 years before moving on to the Jets. And very respected by Saleh. Saleh, had nobody else in mind for the position. Went right to Ulbrich, brought him in, and you could see why. Because on the field, they are identical. Saleh, of course, has become this mild man head coach where he's completely under control. He's, which is great, but there's no worries. There's still a little bit of lunacy on the sideline. And he played like that, too. Ulbrich played for the 49ers, and he was like that. He was an old school linebacker, man, the reason he's on the list is that his job, and you know what? Let me think about this a second. Nope. Yeah, he would not have been on the list. If all these injuries didn't happen, I wouldn't have put him on this list. He's on this list now because of the injuries and what he's up against, He was going to be able to hide a little bit of the secondary because he had so much going on for him up front. And that could still happen. That could still happen. We could be still surprised there. But it was guaranteed as it could be with Carl Lawson in the lineup. Then you lose Davis. It's been a horrible preseason for him. And he easily makes the list. And he's going to have to pull a couple rabbits out of the hat. And he's going to need Bryce Hall to be Bryce Hall, Lamarcus Joyner to be Lamarcus Joyner. And that's why they're on the list. And Shaq Lawson to take it to another level. And all 3 of those things are possible. where it becomes less possible is that if all three of them happen, because that's asking a lot, you know. Having one happen, having two happen, having all three happen is going to be tough. But it can happen. It definitely can happen, and it would make his job a lot easier. So he is going to need to work on this year is all about growth. He's got youth in the linebacker position out the you-know-what. And you think I'm concerned about C.J. Mosley? I'm sure he probably would have 5 bodyguards surrounding C.J. Mosley, to see how he gets out of bed in the morning to make sure he doesn't get hurt. So, he's up against it this year, but I'm sure he's realistic enough to know that, number one, any problems could easily be fixed by, number one. One guy's going to come back next year, hopefully close to or the same player. Davis is going to be back after the bye week, and we have 2 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks that'll easily solve all of his problems. So he's got to get through this year and grow the defense, set the tone. What kind of defense are the Jets going to be? While we may not see an A-plus version of it, we're going to find out what version that is. And that's all you could ask for. So Jeff Ulbrich is the final guy on the list. And that's it, guys. That's it. That is the list. Are there people left off the list? Of course. Are there too many people on the list? Look at my eyes, man. Yes, this was way too long, but it needed to be done. It needed to be done because I wasn't going to lie to myself. I sat down there. Is honestly how I did this. I sat down there, sat down in the chair, not at my desk here. I sat in my little recliner there, at my little TV in front of me, and I turned the TV volume down, and I grabbed my pen and pad, and I said, okay, who? And that's what I did. And that's how I came up with these guys. I'm still laughing about. I should have picked the special coordinator coach. That would have been better. Special team coordinator coach. Anyway, that's where we're going to wrap this up. I do appreciate. I don't know how long it's going to end up being because I've made them all in segments, and I got to put little things in between them. So I don't know how long it's going to end up being, but hey, listen, on a quiet afternoon or a quiet evening, if you got some time, sit down and watch it. And I tried to do the best job I could of explaining the importance of each and every person on there. And for me personally, because what I do is after I do these, I have to, I play back and watch them and make sure that the mic doesn't go scratchy or anything, nothing's bad. And I realized one thing, I was as honest as I possibly can be about each guy. So that's all you could ask for. So we're not going to make this any longer. Thank you very, very much for sticking around. I hope you enjoyed it. If there's anybody that really sticks in your mind, you want to throw them in the comments, fantastic. Please don't forget to like. Please don't forget to subscribe. Still 90%. 90% of the people that come in here and watch these aren't subscribed. So if you can do that, that'd be nice. Have a great night, guys. We're getting close, baby.